Hi everybody, the Mature Simmer here. So welcome back to Riverview Farms and the VIP series where I'm filling orders for VIPs. So I've got a full trailer of strawberries. I couldn't actually get things quite together where I needed them. You can see I've got one 4 levels above because the trailer was kind of bouncing around so much. I just really needed to get everything together, but I didn't want to go without the full 18,000 liters just so that I felt I was getting a full load, because I've been waiting for a few months until I felt I had enough strawberries to kind of get everything together and then maybe go ahead and hopefully get another trailer over today as well, but I don't know that we have enough strawberries produced to do that. We'll only find out once we get back and start loading. So I need to get these over to Stu's. In the meantime, I'm going to stop over at the barley field just to be certain, but I think I may be able to do some work on the crops at this point as well. I forget where we were at, but I believe I said February was when things were going to be good. But I'm not entirely certain that's accurate. So let me hop out here. I didn't think that would roll that far, but because this is the edge, I gotta get here. Well, actually, no, that would, I think, be it. So yeah, we're ready to harvest, but I've gotta move some strawberries too. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna get enough to be able to go ahead and get everything done. So before I pull away, you know, we've still got 63,000 liters, so I've got to take 3 and then a partial load over, you know, and then in the meantime we can get barley and wheat going. So for those who joined or were able to watch the last episode, I came to a realization then, and I have made some changes per what I talked about at the end that I said I was thinking about, and I was going to see what I could do. So once we get to Stu's, we'll kind of talk through some of the details of what has changed, but I've made some modifications to what the VIP order manager will suggest, because upon really working through things for several levels, you know, we're on the level 11 orders, so we've been here a while, as you can also tell from the episode numbers. My goal is to work this through level 20 and hopefully see how that goes, if that's possible, you know, or if it becomes really untenable. And part of where it was becoming untenable was with certain crop types, it's just not conducive to a British map like this, where we're very confined. We have the hedges, we're using small equipment, and so forth. So things like sugarcane and really root crops were just becoming too difficult to appropriately work with. And so that's going to be something over the next, sometime in the near future, that we'll work through, is getting all of those fields converted back to something else. Alright, so 45,000. So again, I'm going to need, you know, 18,000. 18,000 will get me to 36,000. But what I was going to say is this order here had been potatoes. And I said, you know, I'm not going to try to get that done because the potato order we have here is 151,000. Part of what the VIP order manager does is the bonuses become smaller. I assume that, you know, the author didn't really explain why they did that, but I'm assuming that it's supposed to kind of mimic that as you get further and further along and you're a more mature and established farm and farmer, that in general your productivity should increase, and therefore it should be easier for you to produce larger and larger crops. I mean, the goal of any farm, to some degree, is growth and to keep expanding as much as you can. But doing the 151,000, we really almost couldn't do that on the 2 fields I have potatoes on right now, because I don't own the equipment, nor do I feel like it makes financial sense to own it, because I don't know how often the VIPs are going to ask for things, and that kind of harvesting equipment is extremely expensive, similar to sugarcane as well. I just decided I wasn't enjoying it at all. It was really, really a chore, and to avoid the fun draining out of the series and so forth, especially when I got to that level, I made the decision to make those changes. And so you really have to just go in and change a couple. You have to change a file of what is true or false, and basically what crops are able to be pulled. So the other thing, similarly, is cotton, because we don't really have a specific place to deal with that. And so any byproducts that come from any of the crops, so for example, chocolate, I also made sure was disabled, because if I'm not going to have sugar, I'm not going to be able to provide sugar to get a chocolate order done. So I think I've gone ahead and gotten everything set appropriately. Obviously, if I haven't, if I suddenly get some sort of production that appears in the future that I can't make because it requires a root crop or sugar or cotton, I'll adjust accordingly, because once again, I think clothes and fabric I removed. So, but that means these 3 fields can now start going into production again, rather than sticking around and waiting for those orders to come up. So we've kind of worked through that in the center. I've had potatoes a couple times. I've had sugarcane a couple times. If you're really wanting to see those operate here and see the challenges I had, I encourage you to go back and find those older episodes that cover those, and you can enjoy my frustration along with me. So pallets of strawberries are 500 liters apiece. So we've got, as you can see, 8 of those outside each greenhouse, which means I've got 4,000 at each greenhouse. So I've got 12,000 sitting here, which already gets me more than halfway to where I need. It's just a matter of, do I have another 6,000 waiting to spawn out? Now, I had to move 6,000, or no, it'd be 6 pallets, so it'd be 3,000 to finish that trailer before I moved, and so these have replaced. So I've already pulled 6, they've refilled with 3, so that bodes well, because that means there's at least 4,500 per greenhouse waiting to go here. So once I'm done with that, I'll work on another crop. The barley's ready at a minimum, but I think everything else may be as well. So I'll see you in a bit. So I'm going to kind of move this over here, although I'll probably have to move it again if I really need to mow this field. But I was able to get another full load over to Stu's, and at this point, this is what I've got. So I've got 3 extra pallets, which is another 1,500. Whoops. Which would be another row of 3, but 6,000 on the trailer there. So at this point, we are down to 20, because yeah, the amounts are running a little off, which is always challenging with how precision, or how Farming Simulator does things. But I think we've got another 21,000 or something left to go. So I'm going to need another full trailer and then a tiny bit more, and like I may need an additional pallet. I think I ran into that last time when I was either doing the tomatoes or the strawberries as well. But things will start producing and we should be in pretty good shape. So let's go get going with the harvest. So at this point, given that it's noon already, and I know that large field just takes time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to focus on the wheat to hope that I can get that done in the daylight I have left. But if I can do that, and more importantly, the hope is this wheat will be enough that I can get the order complete for the VIPs, that would certainly be a very productive day if I could go ahead and do that. You know, I think I'm going to leave this here. Well, I'm going to put it on my grape field, because otherwise it's going to be in the road and then I'll just be going around the trailer the whole time, because I know how this is going to work. I'm going to end up just driving over to the barley field or something, although I know I'm pretty sure I'd put the header on. That would be not worth trying to drive down the street with that, so yeah, I'd put the header on the trailer. But we'll go ahead. I should be able to get through the trees here. You know, and this is kind of an example again. I mean, yes, I could have pulled through with the trailer and unloaded here. But if I'm trying to remotely run, you know, work the farm as you would without just tossing everything to the wind, just how everything is set up here, it does not really allow for a lot. So if you hadn't been on the last episode, that's what I have left after 151,000 liter potato order. So I've got maybe another 10 or 20,000 liters at most. And so my thought was, with that 208,000 liter potatoes, that's what was kind of overwhelming me a bit from a joy standpoint, if nothing else, was like, I'm going to have to harvest this, I'm going to have to plant both those fields, harvest them, and then I'm going to have to plant again, and all of that's going to require leasing equipment and so forth, and the bonuses I'm getting are just not large enough to make that make sense. So that was why I decided to make the change. And so in the future, as I start another series at some point, I'm going to think through all of those crops and what I'm really willing to do on a map ahead of time is going to be my goal. Alright, so okay, I do need to unfold the harvester, as it says, and then I should be able to begin and start taking this off the field, obviously, as we talked about. So I get my GPS set. I'll probably go ahead and do this harvest, as opposed to the larger fields where I tend to throw in some automation just because of the amount of effort that's required to get things done. But definitely want to go ahead and run around a headland at least once, especially along the trees and so forth, because normally I'll go across, but I want enough room to be able to turn. I'm not even sure that one's really going to be enough. I may need to do a couple, and so on this east and west side I may go ahead and run a couple passes, and then that should give me enough room to maneuver and be able to go and avoid the trees on either side. So it's really the trees that I'm worried about. The hedges I can kind of pull through. The posts have collisions on them, so that can be a bit of something you got to watch out for, but it doesn't always seem to with a harvester, but it does with, say, a trailer. So that's why you're not able to run through certain things if you're hauling, like I said, larger pieces of equipment, bigger headers, and so forth. So this map really does require a bit of, if you don't want to call it small farming, it's not beyond medium farming, that's for sure. You're not running big buds on here, because I don't think you could even get them down the roads, frankly, or across the bridges. So I may just leave that at the bottom and just head over to the other side. Well, it's not worth it. It's going to take more effort to avoid the oats or the wheat than anything. I mean, if I pick up the header, I guess it would be okay. But what I'll do is, once I have this cut, it'll be easy enough to come back, because I think what I'm going to do is now go up and down twice here, then come back, run that second pass there, and then finally start going across the field. And at this pace, I may be having a full load before I finish the headlands, which is not uncommon. You tend to get a lot off headland passes just because you're doing a lot of the field. So I'm just trying to get my my cruise control operating there. Always seems to, when I move away from the gas, doesn't always engage. So the good news is these fields are pretty productive. The ones up above tend to be a little more challenging. Now again, the sugarcane has just been regrowing as it does as a type of grass. So that's why the yields are pretty low there and so forth, because whoops, that's right, I was running around the other end there. But because that is not been like refertilized or anything, it just is left to regrow. Alright, that will give me more than enough room between that and the edging and the roadway, if you want to call it. I think it's just like a farm road. It's certainly not very large, but it gives us some room there. Alright, we'll run back over and go ahead and get the other side run. And yeah, I would think by then I am going to absolutely be completely full, probably before I even get all the way up. This should give me a good amount of space to then just go ahead and do what I need to do. Oh, I thought I had already established my line. I guess I had not. I'll have to do that, because now that I'm trying... Oh no, I guess I did. Never mind, I forgot I have the little dots here, which is actually better, because it just doesn't look as intrusive on the interface. So, alright. So, I think it'd be kind of crazy to go and do something without emptying this. So let me grab this. I'll leave the other tractor. Could not think of the word. Leave the other tractor over on the strawberries. But I'm thinking I'm going to still need a couple days on that. But the nice thing is now, yeah, it appears the strawberries are going to be the gating factor. And it'll just be a question of, can I get further ahead on the next level when I go ahead and am waiting, if I need to do that. Because obviously I'm going to need another day still to get the barley off tomorrow. That will obviously allow strawberries to get produced, but because we still need 21,000, I think that's going to be more than I can get, given that I think I just got what I got in probably 3 or 4 days. But we'll see. Because obviously we already have 6,000 of the 21,000 we have left, so we really only need another 15,000. I guess I should circle around from this side. And then I'll kind of be out of the way. So we'll let that fill. And once I get that dumped, so let's take a look here. We need 80,000 liters of wheat. Hopefully we'll get that. We need less barley, but again, the reason I put the barley on the big field is I need this huge amount of barley later. But I also need this amount of wheat, but that's going to be the benefit of eliminating these fields up here, where I could just really go ahead and put a lot of wheat around if I wanted to do that, for example. Alright, let's see. I can probably move this over a bit. Not sure that that'll quite line up yet. Now this should get me where I need to... wow, that did not turn as fast as I would have hoped. Got a few liters off there, but now we're locked on and going, and we're not leaving any wheat, so I think we're good. Now the only question is, I think this is the one, whoops, where I need to shrink this down, because this is the part I run into all the time. Let's see, what does that do? Let's see, will that work? Alright, it will. So it moved it over a bit. Shoot. That's what I was worried about. Well, but that's just because I did that row manually. Let's go with that. But yeah, the size of the header is the problem, and I run into that regularly, so I just don't always remember that it doesn't auto-size properly. I'm not sure why there is that discrepancy. But yeah, the reality may be I may not have enough here, because looking at this, trying to think, well, yeah, I mean, we only have 10,000 in the harvester, so 80,000 is gonna, yeah, we're not gonna have enough on this field, so we're gonna have to wait for the wheat. So now suddenly the strawberry isn't the long pole in the tent, it's something else. I was gonna say, I mean, now I have a trunk, why is it missing? But I think it was okay, although I may have that one little part where it floated for some reason that I'm gonna have to do something with, almost guaranteed. It's a bit disappointing, but then hopefully after that it'll all be nice and clear. So let me get this, and then we'll back this up. We'll get this fixed, then it will go. So always a bit of a challenge, more so, you know, given that, like I said, I've forgotten to set that working with appropriately. So that was a little bit on me there for sure. Goodness gracious, this is not a very fast rotating harvester, that is for sure. I thought for sure I had left myself enough room there. Yeah, I don't understand. It is a 7.5 meter header, so like this should be perfectly fine, but it looks very strangely like it's not going to be every time I go down. I'm like a nervous wreck as I'm running these rows because it just doesn't appear to be aligning appropriately. Like, see, it looks like it's way off on the side there, but I think that's just, well, I mean, it's definitely close, but hopefully this will work and it will continue to harvest. If it doesn't, I'll obviously have to shrink it further. But I think this should work, because obviously that's the working width. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I mean, there's wheat kind of spread around here, and it just does not look like it's going to pick it up appropriately. Alright, well, this is going to take some time. I was initially planning on, well, we'll just run this because I know this is the last job I can do today. But I probably have a good 30 to 45 minutes still here. And I think I've shared everything I can. You've seen my trials and travails. Whoops. Wrong button. I was going to lower the header and hit the cruise, but instead I turned off the header. Alright, obviously I need to shrink this. So yeah, I'm going to have some work here. I'll get this done, and we'll see what the status is at that point. So I'll see you in a bit. Last bit of wheat off the field here. Let me just get this done and the harvester folded. And then we'll head on over. So we got under 30,000 off this field, but I forgot I do have wheat in the silo from before. So there are some crops that we have. So given the amount that we need, I'm going to go ahead certainly and fill up the trailer before I go head out. So we're going to go on up to the silo here. So the challenge ends up being, yes, just trying to recall the decisions that were made sometimes 6, 7, 8 months prior. And obviously we've been doing a lot of things. We've been focusing on grapes to get raisins and grape juice. I think we're in good shape there. The production has stopped because we have no more grapes left. So we have gotten everything we're going to get, and all I can do is hope that that will be enough. But we'll worry about that when we get there, because the grapes should be growing in the interim. So if somehow we do need more, then we can go ahead and do that. So obviously we shouldn't have to select anything because it knows there's wheat in here. It'll just obviously not mix crops, so it will automatically dispense wheat. And we are taking that wheat to Stu's. Everything is at Stu's that we have left right now. So where this places me at this point is I am going to need more wheat by the time the next order comes up. But the good news is I believe that next order is 2 or 3 levels away. So wheat won't be our gating factor here. We have enough to do the 78,000 we need. The nice thing, however, is given, we've still got a few hours of daylight here. Obviously the shadows are getting a little bit long given that we're still here in winter time. And it's February, so the days are a bit shorter. But we will be able to probably comfortably get this done because I should just need one more run over here to Stu's. I always go too far. I'm somehow thinking this road is further than it is. But this is where we're at to get to Stu's, as obviously you're well aware. If you've been following the series, I guess if you're not, then welcome to Stu's. I hope you become a new subscriber and a new watcher and just follow along from this point forward. That certainly is always an option. You're always able to jump in whenever you choose. Automatically in my strawberry drop-off, but crop goes here in the hoppers so that they can get put into the building. So, whoops. Helps if I drive a little better. But what fun would that be, right? Alright. So here we go. Should see things decreasing. There we go. Maybe is the wheat and the barley the same? I guess we'll just see where we're at. Maybe we needed 80,000. Clearly I would say that's what we needed. So we'll go ahead and get a full load. The nice thing is we got over 40,000 pounds just paid out for dropping that off, on top of the ultimate bonus of 273.5 that you see there that we're going to get once we get the entire level complete. But it remains to be seen if the challenge is going to be, because this is kind of the last really big bonus payout, and then we drop precariously close to 100,000 pounds per level. In theory, that should mean we have less work to do. That's also part of the fact that the bonus payouts decrease as we go along. So we may see that that becomes the new norm, to the point where eventually we're almost getting no bonus at all. And that is kind of what I'm looking for to some degree, is do we fall off a cliff at some point? And my question starts to become, honestly, is have we already seen the edge of the cliff and have we fallen? We just kind of haven't gotten there. And what I mean by that is we had gotten up and we had been for several levels running over 200,000 pounds of a bonus, and then suddenly we fall below that and then drop down to, I think a couple of the levels are just 111,000. So as I said, precariously close to 100,000. But between what I pulled off the field and what I had in the silo, we have about 180,000, but we're going to need 150,000 remaining. So given that I'm selling 80 here, I've only got 100, so I'm going to need to make another 50,000. We know that field only produces 30, so I'm either going to have to harvest it twice, or I do something else. And more than likely what I'll do is I'll start incorporating those other fields up above, and I may just plant everything here in wheat and kind of do a cross-field harvest where I can, because obviously taking out some of the trees at the south end of the center field gives us a little bit of an ability to maybe harvest those fields together in a different way if they're the same crop. And we may have to take out more trees in the future. If we do, I'll probably just continue to remove trees from between the fields so that I can open that space up and therefore make it significantly simpler to work. So let's just take a peek. So yeah, it was 80,000 in wheat. It's easy to get things mixed up when you've got a lot of different things going on, but we've always got our list to refer to. The good news is, going forward, again, we're starting to do what I had done for several levels before I got to level 11, where I'm making a bit of a head start on a future level with what I'm doing. We just happened to start level 11 really very much almost at zero. I think, we obviously had some strawberries running, but because of the long trajectory of those and how long it takes, that right now is, yes, it may still be the issue, but other than that, there was just nothing. But there have been times where we've just been able in one episode to then knock out the level because we had staged or grown everything in the level before, and we're at least starting to move in that direction a little bit now. Again, obviously we talked about the grape products. The raisins and grape juice are on different levels in the future, so I have those orders in essence complete, but those are just part of future levels, so we'll just have to see how it goes. But one of those things that I know I see is furniture and so forth that we need. I just don't know where we stand with that. That may be something that it might be worth taking a look at as I talk about it now, because if I have to get trees over to the carpentry shop and wood, once again, I'd like that to be operating perhaps even while we work on the barley tomorrow. So maybe we'll take a peek at those things in the next episode, just to plan ahead and do the best we can to keep moving as aggressively forward as possible. So I was initially going to just jump over to Stu's, but at this point I'm close enough here. We'll just stay together as we go through the neighborhood. It's always just a very tiny little road. Never really looked around much, so we've just got one person with a dock and a boat. I don't even know. I suppose if they all duck, they might be able to get under this bridge. But I guess it looks like you can go around the island the other way. But it just seems interesting that there's just one boat dock. But maybe the folks around the back have something, but of course, you know, Stu's takes up 10-20% of the island here with the land they own, so it's just not a lot going on. I would think some of the folks that live here probably work at Stu's. I would certainly do that. Again, I've gone around. It doesn't really matter because when I pull out I have to go around the other way, so I suppose I'm not really wasting time because it's not like I back out and then turn around or something. I do go around the building to leave. So this should complete the next order, so that'll be good. It's been a while since we've gotten a line to turn green for us. But here we go. There we go. Wheat is complete. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get back to the farm. But this is going to wrap this episode up. If you've liked it, certainly please go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to be notified of future episodes, you can certainly subscribe. That would be appreciated if you haven't done that. And mark the notifications, and then YouTube will let you know when there's something new to take a look at. But hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.